Good morning and welcome to IG's early morning call on Wednesday, the 21st of February. I'm Angela Barnes. Coming up on today's programme. Well, the US dollar is in focus ahead of the Federal Open Market Committee minutes this evening, which could offer fresh insight into the Fed's monetary policy path. And HSBC has released its full-year earnings, dragged down by China investments. The bank also announced a fresh share buyback. And NVIDIA reports its latest earnings results tonight. Can its quarterly earnings send its stock even higher? Well, shares have already risen 50% this year. Well, let's start by taking a look at volatility this morning and see how the VIX is doing. Well, the VIX declined since the 13th of February, but volatility has edged higher since Friday and was up about 1.77% yesterday morning and went to 1604 by the afternoon, suggesting increased investor uncertainty. However, the VIX is lower currently on the day, down 0.57%. Now, with 30 minutes to go until the European markets open, let's have a look at how things are looking pre-market. Well, the FTSE 100 is currently pretty flat there, just up marginally 0.03% at the moment. Moving on to France's CAC 40. A not so dissimilar picture, up slightly there, 0.14%. And Germany's DAX also set for a pretty flat open there, up 0.1% at the moment. Now, shares in Barclays yesterday buoyed the FTSE after the bank said it would return £10 billion to shareholders, among other plans revealed at an investor update accompanying the company's full-year results. Meanwhile, the Bank of England Governor Andrew Bailey confirmed yesterday that UK interest rates could be cut before inflation hits the 2% target if the central bank wished to make such a move. It gave a spark to bond markets, but it wasn't enough to put stocks and shares into overdrive. Meanwhile, budget airline EasyJet is on track to reclaim its place in the UK's blue chip equity index almost 4 years after it dropped out during the COVID-19 outbreak. Well, the company would replace Endeavour Mining PLC, which is set to be demoted to the FTSE 250. Meanwhile, let's move on to Asia Pacific markets, and this was the picture overnight. The Nikkei 225 down 0.26%, Hong Kong's Hang Seng higher there, up 2.13%, and Australia's S&P ASX 200 down 0.66%. Well, Hong Kong's Hang Seng advanced 3%, driven by property, technology and healthcare stocks. And the Japan's Nikkei fell, and that was as well after Japanese manufacturers' business confidence tumbled to -1 in February compared with the previous month's reading of 6. And in Australia, investors would be digesting as well Australia's annual pay growth, which inched up to 4.2%, marking the fastest annual pace in 15 years. Let's move on to the US and have a look at how Wall Street closed yesterday. This was the picture there. So Dow Jones Industrial Average, S&P 500 and the tech-heavy NASDAQ all closed in the red yesterday. Well, the NASDAQ there showing the largest decline as chip maker NVIDIA stumbled ahead of its highly awaited earnings report. We'll have more on that in a moment. Gains in Walmart kept losses on the Dow in check, although it did still close lower. But Walmart closed at a record high after the retail giant forecast fiscal 2025 sales largely above Wall Street expectations and raised its annual dividend by 9%. Meanwhile, smart TV maker Vizio shares jumped 16.26% after Walmart said it would buy the company for $2.3 billion. Well, let's have a look at how things are looking pre-market in the US. So US 500 set for a lower open, currently trading down 0.08%. The NASDAQ, following a similar trend to yesterday, currently down 0.25%, and Wall Street as well down 0.05%. As I said, investors will be waiting for those earnings from NVIDIA as well. And then Federal Reserve minutes will also be closely watched later, with the market now not expecting a rate cut in March. So talking about the Federal Reserve, let's move on to the US dollar. because you're going to watch out for that today, because there could be some more volatility around the greenback with the release of the FOMC minutes tonight. Well, the US dollar basket is currently pretty flat, as you can see at the moment. The Fed made it clear, though, that they will not lower interest rates until they see a decrease in inflation. And recent CPI data has shown that inflation is not going down as quickly as expected. We could therefore expect some upside on the dollar. Since the beginning of the year, the dollar is following an upward trend as traders have been pushing back their expectations on what the Fed is likely to start cutting rates. The CME FedWatch tool shows that there is only an 8.5% chance of a rate cut at the next Fed meeting in March. The probability rises to 35.2% for the May 1st meeting and to nearly 80% chance of a cut at its June meeting. Well, moving on to Japan, because shipments of autos and car parts to the US and Chinese demand for chip-making equipment drove Japan's exports higher than forecast last month. Well, Japan's exports rose 11.9% in January from the same month a year ago, faster than a 9.5% gain expected by economists. But we shouldn't read too much into that increase. Data is partly skewed by comparisons with very weak exports to China last year. Exports to China rose 29.2% year over year, and a weaker yen also played a part in boosting exports. Well, the trade data also showed imports fell 9.6% versus the median estimate for a 8.4% decrease. Well, if we look at the US dollar, Japanese yen, well, the pair has ticked down and fallen below the 150 handle. And that it's just slightly rising above it now, but this morning it's been below it. And if bulls return and push prices back above the 150 handle, well, we could soon witness a retest of the 150 in the 150.85 region, although overcoming this ceiling might present a challenge for the bulls. A decisive breakout could usher in a rally towards last year's high in the vicinity of 152. Well, later this afternoon as well at 3 p.m, Eurozone consumer confidence should show a marginal improvement in February, rising to minus 15.6 compared to minus 16.1 the previous month. And let's move on to some corporate updates here. Now, HSBC posted a record annual profit. However, it was below analysts' forecast. Pre-tax profit came in at $30.3 billion for 2023. That was up 78% on the previous year. Income was boosted by higher interest rates. It is, however, below the $34.1 billion anticipated by the market. Well, the record high annual profit was weighed down by a $3 billion impairment on the bank's stake in China's Bank of Communications. HSBC also announced a fresh $2 billion share buyback and is considering a special dividend of 21 cents per share in the first half of this year. Now, also watch out for Rio Tinto at the open. Earlier this morning, the miner reported an 11% drop in full-year underlying earnings. If iron ore production improved last year, well, it was countered by lower contributions from its aluminium business. Well, underlying earnings came in at $11.8 billion for 2023, compared with $13.28 billion a year earlier. And that was broadly in line with the $11.7 billion anticipated by analysts. It also declared a final dividend of $2.58 per share. And now if we just pull up the iron ore weekly price chart here, well, Rio's iron ore shipments rose 3% in 2023, and iron ore prices rose about 17% in the period. And if we switch over to the aluminium weekly chart, but average prices Rio Tinto received for aluminium, well, that slipped over 2023. Rio Tinto also announced overnight it has signed a renewable power purchase agreement with specialist renewable energy firm Windlab. Rio Tinto will buy 80% of all power generated from the Bungarban wind energy project over 25 years. Well, after the US close on Wednesday, all eyes will be on NVIDIA. The street anticipates earnings per share of $4.58 and revenue of $20.37 billion. For the same quarter last year, NVIDIA posted earnings of 88 cents per share on revenue, just over $6 billion. Well, a phenomenal rise for NVIDIA. Let's just pull up its price chart here for you. Here we go. Let's have a look. So NVIDIA's shares, all session stock on the IG platform, down 6.21% ahead of its earnings, but it has had a phenomenal rise that's translated into gains over 220% over the past 12 months. And year to date, the stock has already risen by 50%. Well, the development of AI means that the businesses around the world have the opportunity to operate more efficiently and improve their market positions. And NVIDIA products have now become essential to achieve these objectives. Well, NVIDIA's data center business, which comprises cloud and AI services, could see its revenue come close to $17 billion, more than 4 times the amount reported a year ago. Also fueling this ascent, financial institutions such as Goldman Sachs and Bank of America have issued bullish price target upgrades, injecting a fresh wave of optimism among investors. Well, the S&P Dow Jones indices announced yesterday that Amazon is set to replace Walgreens Boots Alliance in the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Well, the decision was prompted by Walmart's decision to split the stock. The Dow is a price-weighted index, which means it's based on the share prices of its components and not on each company's overall market value. Well, Walmart's 3-for-1 stock split will be effective after market close on Friday, so the change takes effect at the open of trading on Monday. Well, also note that Uber Technologies will join the Dow Jones Transportation Average, JetBlue Airways. Now, let's have a quick look at commodities as well before we go. Starting with Brent crude to see how that's looking this morning. Well, it's currently up 0.27%, trading around $81 a barrel. And if we move over to US crude WTI, it's also higher this morning, up around 0.20%, trading around $77 a barrel. And it's trading back around where both oil prices are trading back around where they were at the end of January as demand rises out of Asia and as troubles in the Middle East persist. And I will leave you as well with a quick update on gold this morning. Let's take a look. Well, it's still above the $2,000 level, currently up 0.29% on the day. Around 2:30 ahead of those Fed minutes later. Well, the gold price taking advantage of the US dollar weakness. Well, that's all we've got time for this morning on Early Morning Call. Thank you very much for watching, and do keep across all our updates and market analysis throughout the day on our IG.